Hey everyone, it's T. In today's video, I'll be decluttering Christmas trash, organizing supplies, finally putting away fall decor, and sharing the reason why I haven't always celebrated Christmas. So if you're ready for some decluttering, organizing, and cleaning motivation, or just want to join me for story time, let's get started. Welcome back to another video. I hope that you had a good Christmas holiday with friends and loved ones. We were able to celebrate with our children who still live locally and enjoy our granddaughter's very first Christmas. Before we get too far into the video though, I want to share with you this week's encouraging verse. It comes from Isaiah chapter 9 verse 6 and states, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Right here, I'm about to wrap two of my husband's Christmas presents. Every year he loves to receive photo books that detail our hiking travels, and I did not finish the books for 2023, so that's what I designed and had printed this year. Since we travel a lot, there are always 2 to 3 books for each year's travels, and this year I maxed out I maxed out 2 of the 8 by 11 books. And the max that you can get for this is 111 pages each, so I maxed out both books. So for this year's travels, for 2024's travels, I will present those to him for Christmas 2025. So in the intro, I mentioned that I would be decluttering, organizing, putting away some decor, and sharing with you the reasons or the reason why I haven't always celebrated Christmas. But from what you can see in this video right now, I am wrapping Christmas presents. I'm doing so feverishly because I always wait until the absolute last minute to wrap presents. We have a tradition in our family where we wrap or where we open one gift each on Christmas Eve. So that means that I need to have the things wrapped. All the things that I purchase need to be wrapped. My husband wraps the things that he purchases separately. So it always takes me about 3 hours to get through everything that I have to wrap. On this particular day, that was broken up because we had to leave for church, which is also a tradition that we do. So we go to church on Christmas Eve, and then after Christmas Eve service, we come home and then we unwrap one gift each. I told myself this year that I was not going to wait until the last minute to start wrapping, and that did not happen. I started wrapping on Christmas Eve afternoon around probably 1 or 1 o'clock or 1:30, knowing that we had to leave at 3:30 for church service. We were going to the 4 o'clock service, so I had to stop wrapping, get myself ready to go to church, and when we came back from church, continue feverishly wrapping. You're going to see me change clothes or in a change of clothes later because I came right in after church and just got back to wrapping again. So while I am wrapping though, or while you watch me wrap these presents, I'm going to get into a little bit of story time about why I have not always celebrated Christmas. Let me take this moment to make a proper introduction. Hi, I'm T, a 50-something married mom of 5. 4 are young adults who are not in the home anymore, and we're still raising our 10-year-old. We are also first-time grandparents to a 10-month-old granddaughter. On this channel, you will see cleaning motivation, DIY home improvement, and room makeovers. If this is something that interests you, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your continuing support means more than you'll ever know. Alright, so let's dive into the reason why I have not always celebrated Christmas. Our family celebrated Christmas until I was somewhere around 6 or 7. I can't recall exactly when the change happened, but we stopped celebrating Christmas because my mom converted to become a Jehovah's Witness, and that meant that celebrating Christmas was no longer a thing in our home. My dad did not convert, and in fact, he still attended the same church that he attended previously, By the way, he was also a traveling gospel singer and performed in small churches throughout the part of the country where we lived. But prior to my mom's conversion, when we did celebrate Christmas, some of my fondest memories were of waking up at midnight to open our presents. That is absolutely not something that I carried over into my own family. No, I'm not doing that. But I also remember having a tree that was decorated with tinsel that was supposed to mimic ice and snow. Some of my other fond memories about Christmas are that we would go outside and play with the neighborhood kids, and everybody would, show off their new bikes and show off their new toys and share and play together and all those good things. And then it stopped when my mom converted, but we did not stop getting things. We did not stop getting gifts, but what did change for me and for my siblings also majorly was that in school we could no longer participate in the Christmas celebrations. We were not watching Christmas shows, but I do recall, let me think, we were still able to watch actually Christmas shows. If we weren't allowed to watch them, then we were. Mom, if you're watching this, please forgive us. But I do remember watching like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, A Charlie Brown Christmas. I do remember watching some specials. But that was not a big thing in our house once the conversion happened. So I ended up having to explain to my teachers who didn't truly understand why I was not allowed to celebrate Christmas, because that was during a time when I guess it was not as common for everyone to not do the same thing. We were more homogenous than we are now. So having to explain year after year to teachers and to my friends and to fellow students why I was not allowed to participate in those celebrations, it was something that I had to learn how to communicate effectively so that I would not leave any room open for someone to misinterpret what was happening in our family in terms of how we approached Christmas. Let's see, Jehovah's Witnesses do believe that Jesus was born, so that whole thing is not what was a bone of contention. It was just that what we know as Christmas to people outside of that environment is just not the same. So that's why I didn't celebrate Christmas growing up. That was all the way through, I believe, I stopped going to meetings. So, oh, by the way, we went to meetings on, let's think, Wednesday night. I think it was Wednesday night. Maybe it was Tuesday night, but we had a midweek service. We had Saturday morning Bible study, and we had meetings on Sunday morning at the Kingdom Hall. So for our Saturday morning Bible studies, right after those, and those were called book studies, right after those book studies, we would go and knock on doors. So yes, I was a door knocker. I was a child, so I was not approaching it in the same way that the adults approached it, and I certainly didn't have the knowledge that they had, but I was always diving into these studies. I knew what a child could understand about what this religion was teaching people. So I enjoyed our midweek study. I enjoyed our Saturday morning Bible studies or book studies, and I enjoyed Sunday morning services. So all that to say, I participated in witness activities until I was about 14 years old, and that happened gradually just because my mom had a job where she worked overnight and she got off in the morning. I think it was around like 7 o'clock, 7 or 7:30, but then we also did not live near my mom's job. She commuted an hour each way. So that made it really hard on her to get home in time on Sunday mornings and get us to Sunday meetings, but also to Saturday morning book studies. And of course, the midweek studies were in the evenings, and my mom was if she was working on those Wednesday nights, then she had to get out to work. So that was what life was like for me in terms of being a witness. But when I went away to college, and I went away at 16, so that was during a time when 16-year-olds just did not go away to college, but I did. So I went away to college, and I had a really close friend group, and that friend group included two other young ladies who were also 16, 17 years old from my high school. So we decided on our own, because we all had our experiences with some form of religion. They were not witnesses, as my mom was and as I was. But I remember that we decided we were going to, or for some reason we decided that we were going to go out into this tiny town where we went to college and go to different churches. I know that there was a Kingdom Hall, but it was a bit far away from campus, and I did not have a car at that time. So we had to go to places where we could walk, because it was a tiny town and there was no mass transit. There was no such thing. And that was quite different for a big city girl like me. I grew up in an inner city, a major inner city, and I went to college in a tiny little town. So that was an adjustment, having to walk a lot of places and not be able to like hop on a bus or something like that. But anyway, so we went to a few different churches. I think there was like a Baptist church that was right off of campus. It was right outside of the campus boundary. And we went to a Presbyterian church, and I feel like there was a third one we went to. We were just exploring, because as young adults who were trying to find out who we were, we decided we were going to go to some church services and explore. So we did that, and I did not go back to church after that, at least not on a regular basis. I didn't even go there on a regular basis. During my childhood as a witness, I was exposed to God, but I was not exposed to God in the way that I am now, the way that my children have been, but I was exposed to God. I knew there was a God. I believed in God. I did not follow God, because in my experience, it was almost impossible to be the kind of person that I needed to be to follow God, at least with my understanding then. With the understanding that I gained many years later, I knew that you didn't have to be perfect to be a follower of God. So in this home where I live now, we had lived here for a few years, and I've worked from home for a really long time. So now I'm an HR management consultant, and I work for myself. But at the time, I worked for a major corporation, and I worked at home long before working at home was really a thing. So let's see, 2007, we're going to fast forward from when I first started working at home, which was like 2001, but then permanently like 100% of my time in 2003. So in 2007, I was sitting in my home office, and at the time, our kids were still all in school. I eventually started homeschooling them, but they were in school. They had brought some flyers home from school, and those flyers were for a program at a church. It's actually the church that we attend now. I put those flyers to the side and did not read them for a while, but then one day I glanced over at them, and I will tell you, in that moment, I felt something that I had never in my life felt before. The Holy Spirit descended upon me in my home office. I have it. Let me just stand up right here, because I have a sticker that is, not a sticker, but it's something that I have on my desk. It's from October 7th, 2002. So that's while I still actually worked in the office sometimes. But I have that prayer that I had been saying for a long time, welcoming God, inviting God into my life. And that prayer is from 1 Chronicles chapter 4. It is the prayer of Jabez. So First Chronicles chapter 4 verses 9 and 10 read, "And Jabez was more honorable than his brethren, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, Because I bear him with sorrow. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that thou wouldst bless me indeed, and enlarge my coast, and that thine hand might be with me, and that thou wouldst keep me from evil, that it may not grieve me. And God granted him that which he requested." I was given that verse was brought to mind by a relative who gave me a book called The Prayer of Jabez. I read that book from beginning to end. I can't even tell you how many times. I haven't said that prayer in a while, so I just read it, but I committed that prayer to memory, and I said it over and over and over again, inviting God into my life, asking God to give me a platform to make him bigger, make him more known to people. In my office, God answered my prayer that I had been praying for many years. He met me there. So after that, I started crying immediately when the Holy Spirit descended upon me. And I called the phone number that was on the flyer to this church. And I said, "Hey, I need to speak with somebody. This is what just happened to me." And I remember that one of the secretaries at the church called the senior pastor. He was out of the office, but she called him and said, "I have someone who needs to talk to you." So he called me immediately. He pulled over and he called me, and we talked. And I wanted to schedule a meeting with him because I wanted to make sure that I could be and I could do what I needed to do and be, because I came from a background in which there was a lot of legalism, and I was not sure that I could do church, if that makes any sense. So I went to him and I had a list of things that I wanted to get specific answers about. So there was by the way, before I went to meet with this pastor, I pulled down the denominational manual. This is a really thick manual. I pulled that from the internet and I went through this manual. Now, it was hundreds of pages, so of course I skimmed it. I just did not have time to go through the whole thing in that moment, but I skimmed it. And that allowed me to know what their statement of faith was. But it also allowed me to go through and look at the things that the church did not believe in that may have been conflicting with what my current lifestyle was, or my lifestyle at the time was. Nothing big. It was just simple stuff. But again, coming from a background where legalism was big, I needed to make sure that I could do church, that I could do God. I could have this relationship, which is really what Christianity is. It's not about rules. It's not about legalism. It's about a relationship with God. So since then, I have been at this church. So I started going there that very next Sunday. So I called the church, set up a meeting with the pastor, met with him on Tuesday. And when I met with him, we talked over all my concerns. He explained to me that what I experienced in my office was called prevenient grace. I had never heard that before. Prevenient grace. The Lord chased me down. He called me home. He gave me grace. So the pastor was like, okay, we believe in getting connected. So of course we have service, but we also have small groups. And here are a couple of small groups that I think you would be interested in. Well, we had the same ones in mind, because when I was on the church's website, I looked around at everything. I'm a consumer of information. I am a researcher, so this was right up my alley. So when he pulled out a brochure and put a couple of stars next to some classes where he thought would be a good fit for me, I had already identified those classes as a good fit. So I went to service that very next Sunday. My kids had not experienced church, at least not on a regular basis up until that point. We went to church that very next Sunday, and we have been going there ever since. That was October 2007. That is still our home church. Our kids were ultimately raised in that church. Our youngest, who wasn't even born at the time, is being raised in that church. and our church has multiple campuses. And now one of our adult sons, who is married with his own little one, they attend one of the church campuses. He did start with his wife at our the campus where he grew up, but he's at a different campus where he lives. He really likes that location. And so yeah, that is why I had not always celebrated Christmas, but I am so glad that a relative made it known that she was praying for me, that she gave me that prayer of Jabez book, that I was open enough to read that book again and again and again, and that I was open enough to asking God to come into my heart. He did that. He did that for me. I did not have, I was not a bad person. I didn't do bad things, but I was not a follower of Christ. I was sinning all up and down the street. Again, not at the level that, that might sound like, but still, I didn't know how life could be when one chooses to follow Christ. So I have been following him since October 2007. And I prayed that I never stop doing that for all the rest of the days of my life. And I'm here to tell you that if God can do that for me, he can do that for you.
Saves my soul. It's the air I'm breathing. Your grace, grace, grace over me. It's your grace, grace, grace over me. Yeah, and I don't deserve a thing. Don't deserve a thing. You opened up your arms and gave it all away. It's your grace, grace, grace over me. Yeah. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You paid my debt and set me free. When I was lost, you made a way. When I was blind, you helped me see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You paid my debt and set me free. When I was lost, you made a way.
Well, we got it done. Thank you for following along as I tackled some decluttering, organizing, and cleaning of my home gym, which was my Christmas wrapping headquarters is what I like to call it. So I hope that this video gave you some motivation to declutter, clean, or organize an area in your home. But I also hope that my story of why I did not celebrate Christmas before, but why I have come to celebrate Christmas now, I hope that that has inspired you. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you would like to see this kind of content in the future but are not yet subscribed, please click the subscribe button. And when you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that you won't miss out on future uploads. Until the next time, stay blessed.
You paid my debt.